Let's look at the functions that are used to process a string, and let's do a little example here. In an earlier video, I explained the length, the size, the find, the substring, and the at functions. Those are all part of the string library. Now, let's use those to do a simple little example. Here's the repeat from an earlier video as well. We had declared some string variable sentence, and I just set that to the sentence that you see here. I'm going to use this one in this example, string, and that's sentence spelled backwards, and it's initialized to the null string. And I'm just going to keep some of these variables here. We'll be using letter in this example, and we'll be using position, and probably length as well. All right, now I've cut out a bunch of the stuff from an earlier lesson, and that's just to let us focus on exactly what the problem is here. What I want to do is this part, reverse the sentence. Okay, so let's remove a little bit of white space, and so that we can see the sentence on the screen, I'm going to keep that cout statement there. Now, reverse the sentence. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is I want to take these letters that go from the C all the way up to the period, and I just want to make a complete reversal of that so that the C is going to be on this end over here on the far right, and the dot, the end of the sentence, is going to be over here in the beginning. So how can we write a little program that would do that? I'm going to show you two ways. One, I'm just going to do a loop inside, and then we'll do a function as well. And if you need some review with loops and functions, then this could be beneficial to you. Reverse the sentence. Well, how do I want to do this? I've got this extra variable that's a reverse of sentence. It's empty right now. So my plan is to take this dot at the very end, and I want to move it into this reversed sentence, ECNetness, I guess. Then I want to get the Y, and I want to concatenate that in here after the dot, and continue to move from the right to the left until I get all the way down to the C. Then I'll get the C, and then I'll concatenate it onto this, and then I'll have a reversed version of the sentence here. So that means I need to know where to begin over there. Now, I could count these since this is a hard-coded sentence, but I want to do this so that I can do a reversal of any sentence I might want. So I'm going to use some of the functions from the string library to do that. And the first one I need to know how long that is. So let's go ahead and start with that. So the starting position is going to be equal to the sentence dot length. And I don't really want the total length, and also I need to get my spelling corrected here. I don't really want to use the length because the length is going to give me the total number of characters. Okay, total number of characters. But we know we begin counting at 0. So that's at position 0. This is 1 less than the length. See, the length gives us a total number, but I want the position. I want to start right there with that dot. So instead of starting at position, which is the total length of the sentence, I need to subtract 1 to give me the position of that last letter in the sentence, which in this case, that'll be the period. So that's what I want to start position with. Now let's do a little loop, and let's do while the position is greater than or equal to 0, because 0 is certainly a legitimate position. That's the position of the C. I want to stay in the loop. All right, so let's do our loop here. I got an extra set of curly braces I didn't want, so let's take those out. There we go. Now, I said I wanted to get that last character over there, the dot. So let me pull that out, and I'll save it in letter. Okay, so letter is going to equal to sentence, S-E-N-T-E-N-C-E, sentence dot at the position. Right. So position is going to be changing, and I will just extract the letters starting at the far right. So that's the far right position, and that's what I start with here. So I'm going to get that letter, which will be the dot. Once I have it in the variable letter, then I want to move it over to the EC netness, the reverse sentence, EC NET-NES, and you can concatenate those. I can do EC netness and move the cursor out of the way there, equals EC NET-NES plus letter. All right, so this will concatenate the letter onto the variable EC netness. So concatenate the letter. So this is going to gradually fill in the variable EC netness because it's nothing to begin with, a null string, and as we go through the loop, we'll keep grabbing letters from the right side and concatenating them in here. All right, once I've done one letter, then I'm ready to move to the left. So I can do position -1 or position -minus, you know we can do in C++. And by the way, you could rewrite that as EC netness plus equals letter. That would also work as that shorthand. Then I keep running this loop until the position reaches 0, and then I'm done. So at that point, I can exit the loop and I'll print out the reversed sentence. So let's do cout, double quote, the reversed sentence is, I'll put a colon and a space, and the reversed sentence variable is EC NET-NES, then an end line. All right, so that should do it. This little loop then, using the at function of our string library, going along with the length function we used up here, should give us what we want. So let's run the program and see what we get. It turns out this program actually threw an error. So you can see on the screen that there's an error, and this explains the error, but that explanation isn't very useful. I know what's wrong with the program. Do you know what's wrong with the program? Can you look at the code and figure it out? Why don't you do that and just stop the video and see if you can find out what's going wrong with this program. But if you don't want to wait, then I'll go ahead and show you. And if you have been waiting, I'll show you the answer here. So I'm going to stop the program altogether because I can't do anything else. And I'll show you what's going on. Inside the loop, I'm decreasing position by 1 each time. So when position reaches 0, I try to decrement it one more time, which means it would go to -1. If I look at the way I've declared the variable, then I have made that an unsigned integer. See, position's an unsigned integer, so an unsigned integer cannot go negative. I need to redeclare position in order to make that loop work. So I am going to take position out of here, and I'm going to just redeclare it as a regular integer and set it equal to 0 down here. Now, that allows the variable position to go negative, and that's what I need in order to fix that loop. Now, let's look at the output. This time the program works just fine, and on the screen you can see the output, and the reverse sentence now is printed here. So that's Wednesday spelled backwards. And then as we go from left to right, then you'll see that I have made a reversed version of the sentence. It didn't quite all fit on the screen, but now it does. So that little loop produced a reversed version of the sentence. So I'll go ahead and stop the program and look carefully at that while loop and make sure that you understand everything that's going on there. The next thing I want to do is to write a little function. Since we need to look at functions eventually, let's write a little function and make the function do the reversing for us, and I'll do it slightly differently. Now let's look at a function that we can use to reverse the sentence. Here's the bottom of the main program. We've terminated here, and if you don't remember, then we should put the body of our functions below the main program. So I've just added a comment here, and I'm going to name this function reverse it. All right. So the function is going to accept a string constant or a string variable, and it's going to reverse that string and then return it. So the type of the function needs to be a string. So it's string, and it's called reverse it. And the function will have one argument, which is a string type. And I'm just going to call that line. So that will be the formal parameter for the function. Then we'll have the body, and we'll have the return down here. And I'm going to return, and we'll come back and add that variable in shortly. But we do have to return something here of type string. Well, now, we did the little while loop up here, and I could reuse that inside the function, but I wanted to use a different technique just to show you a different loop that you can use. So I'm going to declare inside my function a string variable, and it's going to be called invert line, invert underscore line, and I will set that equal to the null string. And let's scroll up a little bit so we can see that better. Then I am going to need a variable for the position as we go from right to left, or in either way really, in order to make a copy. So position, position, so integer position, and I'll set that to 0 just to initialize it. Now, we don't need much code, as you can tell from the while loop that we did up above. We can do this pretty quickly in very few lines of code, so I'll use a for loop this time. Okay, so for the position equal to the line dot length minus 1. All right, so I'm setting position to the length of the line minus 1, just like I did before I entered the while loop in the main program. So we will set the position equal to the length minus 1 to begin with. And we want to keep going until the position reaches 0. Okay, position greater than or equal to 0. And we just want to decrement position, which we can do easily inside the for loop. Then, inside the for loop itself, we only really need one line. So invert line is going to equal to, and in fact I will use the shorthand notation here, okay, plus equals, so that's the same as invert line equals invert line plus. We can use that assignment operator to shorten our code a little bit. And then we just have to get the character at the position, so line at parentheses position, and then we just have the semicolon. Then as this for loop progresses, it starts at the end of the line, the very right hand side as we did up above, and it keeps going until it gets to the far left, the first character in the sentence, and the for loop just decrements position by 1 each time. So we will take the character that is at that position, we'll remove it, and we'll concatenate it onto invert line, and invert line is just an empty string to begin with. Then when we're all done, we'll just return the invert line. And that is it. That's all we need for our function. Now, I've got it typed correctly. So this is the little function, and it just uses a for loop to do the same job we did with a while loop up above. When we're working with functions, we have to provide a prototype. So let's take the first line of the function, we'll copy it, and I will paste it prior to the main program because that's where the function prototypes go. Just do Control V, and we'll add a semicolon. It does require a semicolon afterwards. Then we can call the function inside the main program. Well, I'm going to do this twice. So the first part of this is the while loop. Then I'm going to call the function to do the same thing. So let's put a comment here. Call function to reverse the sentence. So this would be like case 2, second way we can do that. And the way we can call the function is we can set our reversed sentence ECNETNES, okay, ECNetness, I think that's correct, is going to equal to reverse it. And again, let me type that correctly, REVERSIT, reverse it. And I'm going to send in the sentence in its regular order. So reverse it, and I'll send in sentence. Okay, then sentence, SENTENCE, and let's fix this. Okay, so then when we call the function, we'll send in the original sentence in its left to right form. Then the function will reverse the sentence, and it'll return the reversed version, and we'll save it in ECNetness here. And then we can just print out the sentence again. So I can copy this cout statement, and I can paste it here, and then it'll print it out again. So to tell the difference, let's say the reversed sentence from function, reverse it, is, and that's pretty long, so I'm going to go ahead and do an end line here. Then hit enter, and we'll print out the rest of it down here. So let's get the insertion operator correct. And then this will print out the reverse sentence from function reverse it is on one line, and then it'll print out the reversed sentence on the next line. So that's how you can write a little function. And this is a function you might want to start to put into your function library. It might be something that will come in handy later. All right, so let's pause the program, and I'll compile and run it, and we'll see the output. Here's the output. Inside the main program, we had the while loop to reverse the sentence, and so that is shown here. Then we call the function, and we printed out the reverse sentence from function reverse it is, and then here is the reversed sentence from the function itself. All right, now that gives you two methods of reversing a sentence, and it also illustrates some of the string processing functions. I want to add one more thing, or make one small change to this program before I terminate the video and end this program. Let's suppose we want to enter our own sentence. So let's put it in right here. We want to call the function to reverse the sentence, but let's add some code here so that we can enter our own sentence. So I'll give some space there. And I'm going to just copy and paste some code that I've already got so that you don't have to watch me type. But the cout statement is going to prompt us now to enter your sentence, and I will give you the reverse. So that will be printed to the screen. And then in order to read in the sentence, we have to use getLine. So you may recall we can't use cin if we're reading in information that's separated by spaces, because cin cannot read spaces. So we need to use getLine. So getLine will allow us to enter our own sentence. Then we will call the function that will reverse the sentence, and then it will print it out reversed here. So we can enter any sentence that we want and call reverse it, and then see the reverse sentence. So let's build and run the program and try that out. Okay, the program's running, and you can see we are down to the prompt where the cout statement says, enter your sentence and I will give you the reverse. So, okay, so that was at the very bottom of the program. The cursor is blinking, so now we can type in our own sentence. So let's make up a sentence. Let's see. I like to write computer programs. So there's a sentence, then I'll hit enter, and the function reverse it is called, and then we get the reversed version of the sentence. So you can see that right here. So in this case, then, we can type in any sentence that we want, and then we can use the functions to do some processing on that sentence, or that string. Okay, well, that's a good example then, just a little variation or sidetrack from looking at new code, but this gives you an example of an application where we can use the string processing functions to do a particular task. Okay, so that's all we're going to do in this video, so I will close here.